The morning sun always slipped through the dusty windows of Maple Street Cafe, painting golden lines across the tables. The smell of fresh coffee, toasted bread, and rain-soaked pavement filled the air. Anna, a young waitress with tired eyes but a kind heart, started her day like always, wiping tables, greeting regulars, and sharing smiles that somehow felt warmer than the coffee she served. Every morning, at precisely 8:30, the doorbell chimed softly and the same old man appeared. He moved slowly, leaning on his worn-out cane, his coat buttoned unevenly, his silver hair slightly disheveled. He always chose the same table, the one near the window overlooking the street. Anna had started saving that spot for him without even thinking about it. He never ordered much, just a small black coffee. But Anna noticed the way his hands trembled when he lifted the cup, and how his eyes lingered on the pastry counter, especially on the golden croissants he never asked for. One morning, without a word, she placed a warm croissant beside his cup. He looked up, surprised. "Miss, I didn't order this." Anna smiled softly, her voice gentle but firm. "It's on the house, sir. A little something to start your morning right." The old man hesitated, then smiled, a faint, grateful curve of his lips that seemed to carry years of loneliness. "You remind me of my daughter," he said quietly, his eyes glistening. "She used to do little things like that." From that day on, it became their unspoken routine. Every morning, Anna placed a croissant beside his coffee, and he always nodded in quiet thanks. They didn't talk much, but they didn't have to. There was something sacred in those few minutes, two strangers connected by small kindnesses in a noisy, indifferent world. Anna didn't know his name. She didn't know where he lived or what he'd been through. But she knew this: some people entered your life for a reason, even if only to remind you that compassion still matters. And for Anna, that was enough. The next morning, the cafe felt unusually quiet. The same sunlight streamed through the windows, the same chatter filled the air, yet something was missing. Anna noticed it immediately. The corner table by the window, the one she always kept ready with a steaming cup and a warm croissant, was empty. The old man hadn't come. At first, she brushed it off. Maybe he had overslept. Maybe the rain outside had kept him home. But as the minutes passed and his chair stayed vacant, an odd ache settled in her chest. She kept glancing at the door every time the bell rang, half expecting to see his familiar figure appear with his shy smile and trembling hands. But he never came. The next day was the same. And the day after that. By the third morning, Anna couldn't ignore the hollow feeling anymore. "Maybe he's sick," she whispered to herself as she poured coffee for another customer, her voice barely audible over the hum of the espresso machine. Still, every morning, she placed a cup of coffee and a croissant on his table, a quiet symbol of hope. The other waiters teased her gently. "Anna, he's not coming," one of them said. But she just shook her head. "He will. He always does." Days turned into a week. The chair gathered dust, yet Anna refused to let it go. Each morning she wiped it clean, straightened the napkin, and set the table as if preparing for a dear friend's return. Customers began to notice. Some smiled, others frowned, but no one said much. One evening, as Anna closed the cafe, she stood by the empty chair and whispered, "Where are you, sir?" The flickering streetlight outside cast a shadow across the window, a faint reflection of the man who used to sit there. It was then she realized something profound. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness tie two hearts together in ways words never could. And even in someone's absence, love, in its quietest form, still lingers. A week had passed since the old man's last visit, and the cafe had begun to lose a bit of its usual warmth for Anna. She went through her routine like always, brewing coffee, taking orders, smiling at customers, but her heart wasn't in it. The corner table, still set for the old man, stood like a memory she couldn't let go of. It was a rainy Thursday morning when the familiar bell above the cafe door rang. Anna turned quickly, expecting, hoping, to see the frail figure she'd been missing. But instead, a group of strangers walked in. 4 tall men in dark suits, their serious expressions cutting through the cozy atmosphere, followed by 2 others who carried sleek briefcases. The cafe grew silent. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Even the sound of the coffee machine seemed to fade. Anna froze, unsure what to do. The men scanned the room until one of the lawyers stepped forward and asked, "Excuse me, are you Miss Anna Brooks?" Her hands trembled slightly as she wiped them on her apron. Yes, that's me. Did I do something wrong? She asked nervously. The lawyer gave a small, polite smile. No, Miss Brooks. Quite the opposite. We represent Mr. Harold Thomas. Anna's heart skipped. Mr. Thomas. She repeated, her voice soft. You mean the elderly gentleman who used to sit by the window? The lawyer nodded solemnly. Yes. I'm sorry to inform you that Mr. Thomas passed away peacefully 3 days ago. The words hit her like a wave. Her throat tightened, and her eyes filled with tears. The cafe blurred for a moment as she tried to process what she'd just heard. He left specific instructions, the lawyer continued gently, pulling out an envelope. He wanted us to deliver this to you personally. Anna stared at the envelope in disbelief, her heart aching. She had only known the old man through brief smiles and simple kindness, yet in that moment, it felt like she had lost someone dear, someone who had quietly changed her life. Anna stood frozen, the rain tapping gently against the cafe windows as if echoing the heaviness in her chest. The lawyer handed her the envelope and a small velvet box, both sealed carefully. The other men waited silently, their faces respectful, while the rest of the cafe seemed to fade into a distant hum. With trembling fingers, Anna opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, the words uneven, the ink slightly smudged, as though written by hands weakened with age. She took a deep breath and began to read. Dear Anna, if you're reading this, it means my time here has come to an end. But please don't be sad. I left this world in peace, because of you. Your kindness reminded me that even when life feels empty, there are still good souls left in it. Tears filled her eyes as she continued. I was once a businessman, proud, stubborn, and lost in my own success. I built a fortune, but I forgot how to live. When I lost my family, I thought I had nothing left to live for. Then I met you, a waitress with a tired smile who offered me a croissant without asking for anything in return. It may have seemed small to you, but to me, it was hope. You gave me warmth when the world had turned cold. Anna covered her mouth, trying to hold back her sobs. Please accept this as a token of my gratitude, the letter continued. Inside the box is a key, to my cafe, my home, and what's left of my savings. Use it to do good, as you always have. Let my memory live through your kindness. Her hands shook as she opened the velvet box. Inside lay a small golden key glinting softly in the cafe light. For a long moment, Anna simply stood there, tears streaming down her cheeks, whispering through trembling lips, "Oh, Mr. Thomas." She realized then that her kindness had not only touched a heart, it had transformed a life. Months passed, and the small cafe on Maple Street began to change, not in spirit but in purpose. The sign above the door now read, Thomas's Table, in elegant golden letters. The same warm aroma of coffee filled the air, but there was something new, a sense of meaning, of love that lingered between every cup poured and every smile shared. Anna stood behind the counter, her apron dusted with flour, her eyes bright with quiet pride. The cafe had become more than just a place for breakfast, it was a haven for those in need. Every Friday, anyone who couldn't afford a meal was welcomed with open arms and a full plate. No questions asked, no judgment given, just kindness, the way Mr. Thomas would have wanted it. Old photos of him now hung on the wall, one near his favorite window seat. Beneath it, a small brass plaque read, "In memory of Harold Thomas, proof that kindness never fades." Customers often asked about the man in the picture, and Anna would smile softly, her voice gentle. "He was a regular here once," she'd say. "And he taught me that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's world." On quiet mornings, when sunlight spilled across the tables, Anna would pour a single cup of black coffee and place it by the window, at his old seat. She'd set a warm croissant beside it, just as she had in the beginning. It was her way of saying thank you. Sometimes she'd imagine him sitting there again, smiling, nodding, his kind eyes watching over her. And in those moments, she felt peace. As she looked around at the bustling cafe, filled with laughter, kindness, and second chances, Anna realized something profound. Life's true wealth isn't counted in money or success, but in the love we give freely, expecting nothing in return. And every time that bell above the door chimed, she smiled, knowing Mr. Thomas's legacy of kindness lived on, one warm cup at a time.